Hey guys, welcome back to the Insider Outsider podcast with your host Rav and your other host Ahmed. Today, guys, we are off the pill. No Addy, no Adderall, no Crystal Addy, nothing. All right, we're gonna go straight raw. But so we're gonna start with this by telling you that you were wrong and we were right. No, guys, but pretty much we did effectively time the market, really effectively with gold and silver because we made a video saying do not buy the gold and silver, and literally the next day gold and silver crashed, and it's recorded. Go check Twitch, time stamped everything. So it's very interesting, guys. So gold has had a big falling down, and same thing with silver since the top. And who could have guessed it, guys? It's very easy to guess. It's just cycles, right? When you hear people saying, "Hey, should we invest into this? Should we invest into that?" Usually, that's the time when you got to think to yourself, "Hey, why is something really going up drastically in value?" All of us, like a lot of people know, a lot of people go towards gold reserves and silver reserves when times get a little difficult because they want to make sure obviously their price and their buying power, the buying power is the main term, doesn't fall with inflation, because who knows what's going to happen to their currency. So they like to hedge with these investments because, again, remember, USD cash is absolutely nothing. Canadian cash is absolutely nothing, right? It's only it's
Yes.
only the value of what the Canadian government puts on it or what the USA government puts on it, and that's very problematic, especially if you're using that towards your livable life. So it's not bad to hold metals, guys, but you guys have to understand the cycles, right? You do not be trying to buy. It's like you know the craziest thing I was finding is when people say, "Oh, right now is a real estate buying market." Then why the hell am I buying? I buy when I get a good deal. I don't buy when it's a buying market or a selling market. I'm not gonna sell my house in a selling market. I'm not gonna buy my, like some people obviously have no choice. But if you have the choice to wait, a FOMOing because you're just missing out on, you're like, oh, opportunity is gonna leave, is the best way to put yourself in a bad situation, right? You should be going by wealth types of pyramids. And so, guys, first gold goes up. Once gold is really high up, silver goes up. But anything that comes up fast will come down just as fast, guys. Gravity is real, and gravity is also existent in the stock market and in the silver market and the precious metal market. But yeah, Ahmed, you have anything to add on to this?
I honestly think that I have a lot of theses, and um, these theses are susceptible to emotionality. And the reason I bring up emotionality is because you do not want to be emotional, much like Rab said. You want to be optimistic and look for opportunities. So you're opportunistic the whole time. You're looking for things that within causal relation, not emotionality, not an internal process, an external empiricized causal relation, like, for example, a supply squeeze of some sort. If you know that cars need gas and the gas is becoming more scarce, you buy the oil company, you get causal relation, you make profit. You don't want to be worried and listening to listening to maybe your feed. Your feed probably tells you, "Oh my God, gold's at an all-time high. People are lining up." And what your brain is going to interpret is this is fear, fear, fear. And if you react emotionally, your internal emotionality reacts to it, you're not going to be in the best place. What Rab is basically telling you is you want to be
Don't be stupid, stupid. That's
constantly hedging. You want to be constantly, and the specifics that Rav is not talking about is, I think, worthwhile going over. Rav is constantly looking at the math. He doesn't look at just narrative, he looks at specifics. So you can buy gold, right? But maybe you go to a vendor and the vendor sells it to you at double what the stock price is, or the open market is. What Rav does is he makes sure that when he gets into real estate, he understands the full contract, all the interest, all the time, money, value propositions that are within it, and he hedges towards a deal that ensures that over time, even the worst case scenario, he's going to make profit.
Ahmed, and
He's
you couldn't
and
have said it better. Yeah, that's it's again. Ahmed and me are
the
focusing up
reason
on a
I want
lot.
to emphasize
Sorry, continue.
the reason I really want to emphasize buying silver is because I believe the narrative that's out there right now, like the causal relation, the logic, is that they're going to use it in military. Missile heads all use silver, and Samsung just came out with a far better alternative to lithium batteries, and they use silver as, I think, a cathode. So these batteries charge quicker because silver has a better capacity for recharge, and they have a longer. They're more sustainable because you could recharge them far more times before they break down. But yeah, silver is always going to be something that you want to buy, because I am a person, and you could disagree with this, Rav, and I'm going to ask you the question again after I make the statement here. Um, there's a narrative that I believe is true. The banks have suppressed the price of silver, and they continue to reduce the price. They try and reduce the perception of the value of silver compared to gold. Gold is, in my opinion, saturated. For me personally, I would not go purchase gold. I'd look at silver more closely, and I would hold physical silver.
So Ahmed, you put a lot of good points there, and I mostly agree with you. I don't disagree with you a lot of portion, right? Now, whether it's the government, whether it's the bank, at the end of the day, I can't give you that answer. I don't have that answer, but I'll tell you one thing: is Ahmed's
Yeah,
very right to be spectacle. He's really right to question it because you need to do stuff because of smartness, not because of based on what somebody else telling you. That's why we always say, guys, we don't give financial advice. We just tell you about what we're doing, what has worked out for us, because in essence, what has worked for us is still a plan, right? And as long as you have a plan, you're going to win. And so, guys, you have to have strategy. And in a market like this, we have to understand something. The reason why I'll never say gold will be worth nothing one day, and same thing with silver, because they always have intrinsic value. Because we use them in electricity, we use them in metals, right? Like it's stuff that we actually utilize. And so this stuff is something we need. But I always resort back to this. There's this place called Hellas Valley. Okay, Ahmed, I don't know if you heard this. Actually, in Canada, it's in Northwestern Territories, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a beautiful It's so beautiful, but you can't get to it. You have to fly into it. And a lot of people over the years, and Ahmed, do your research on it. A lot of people say there's some crazy amount of gold there that's non-discovered. So there's a you know how they call those like ivories or vein like vein. I forgot what they're called.
veins.
Yeah, but
Yeah, they're
they're like
veins.
filled of gold, and they apparently this place is undiscovered gold territory. Now you're probably like, okay, business idea, and I actually thought of this. I'm like, yo, time to go traveling, time to go learn how to hike, and time to go mine them. The reason why it's called Hellas Valley is because a lot of people over the years have lost their heads. So they go there to do it. They wake up and their heads decapitated. Not even joking. It's real story. So and it's what is it? There's police reports and everything for it. So a lot of people have died there, and so but the stories that they say is like a dude went there, he found the ravine, he's like, oh my god, I found it, and then he took a bunch of gold, he went back with the gold, and now he's like, I'm gonna go back, and he brought another guy with him, and the next time he came back, they died, right? So it's like, oh, did somebody else find him? Did an animal do it? Who knows, right? So, but we're not obviously here to tell scary stories, but man, I like those stories. But yeah, so it's happened more than once, and that's what it's called Hellas Valley, and so because it's so hard to get there, a lot of people don't do a lot of exploring there. But there, if there's gold there, let's just say it's so much gold that it triples the reserve of gold tomorrow. You never know when that's
Yeah,
gonna happen. What happens tomorrow when a volcano explodes underneath the ocean, and all of a sudden you like, oh wait, there's a bunch of gold right down here. We just didn't even notice. What happens when a meteor drops to Earth and it's full of gold, right? The thing is, if you double or triple your gold supply, the amount that gold is worth is also going to go down by the exact same amount. So when you buy this, you're buying something that holds value but does not create value, and that's not something that I personally buy. Now, like I've told you guys in the
yes.
past, I do buy gold, I do buy silver because even if let's just say that stage does happen where you're able to now create gold and create silver, right? Which I don't think will
Yeah,
be, which I do think will happen in the future. What
I
happened to
think
diamonds?
they've done
What?
gold
Yeah,
already.
yeah. But what happens to diamonds?
They've done
Diamonds is
gold
the
already.
exact same situation. Diamonds, we can make our own diamonds. Yet, what is the price of real diamonds? And even
I
the
like
price
how
of fake diamonds.
you put that in, 'cause, a lot of these people that started to produce diamonds when synthesized diamonds came out, when man-made diamonds came out, the people that were capable and were working within that market suppressed the price of diamonds by controlling supply. Not suppress the price; they
Yeah.
controlled the price of diamonds,
And
man.
so, Ahmed, you're
And that's
very,
what Ram talking about. But here's the thing: silver is used; it has real-world
yeah, yeah.
utility. It's used in warheads, and during this conflict, I think the narrative has been more on the inclination of uh, future wars. I think that we're leaning towards more frequency in warlike conflicts because of the
Ahmed,
current Iran situation.
can I tell you one
So
thing that I
missiles
wanted to just
and
bring up?
silver.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
the reason why I actually agree with Ahmed and why silver is more valuable at this moment in time is I looked to see why the price of gold jumped so high. And there was a reason, guys. It's a lot of banks are purchasing gold. And so a lot of banks, I'm guessing, are being undecisive on the USD dollar. As inflation, economic tensions rise, they want to
world
hold more
reserve
gold. Yeah.
currency. Yeah,
So,
you
like
don't trust
Tether.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You do USDC, Tether. Tether is a crypto bank, technically. They bought, I believe it was like the first or the second most amount of gold. And then other reserves around the world have bought the most. So the biggest buyers of gold. Here, let's actually pull it up so we can just tell the viewer. Just because I want people to understand that when you hear something, you have to look deeper into it. So
Yes.
biggest. Let's do 2025. So who bought the most gold in 2025? So let's see. So Poland, all right, bought a crazy amount of gold. So here, one second. I just want to see if I can see like actual.
You find the data. I'll brief kind of some subcategories on this topic. Um, I think a good perspective to look at, a good start would be when we came off of the gold standard in America as the world reserve currency shifted from the gold standard to petrodollar. And right now we see a lot of tensions about this highly highly used resource. Iran, I think Qatar as well. Right now it's in the news that oil and gas is being the supply is being affected by this war, and the petrodollar is what currently stands, and the repercussions of shifting from the gold standard to a petrodollar and a new standard of banking. So it's called reserve lending, and reserve lending actually is it gives the banks and institutions that deal within finance more leverage than the people that it works with or the people that it serves. People that it serves, as in the customer, someone depositing into their account. They get to lend money that you deposit, and it's not one to one. So basically, when something like a banker's run happens, which would happen in Greece, uh, a bank run, which means everyone tries to pull out their money. There isn't a one-to-one ratio of money that they have that they're told they have. So let's say a bank
All right,
has
Ahmed,
twenty
could
thousand
I
dollars
could I
deposits.
all right, I'll let you finish.
Yeah, but
Yeah, continue.
let's say a bank has $20,000 worth of deposits. There's four people that have deposited 5,000 each. They come to withdraw their money only to find that the bank has lent out $100,000. So they've lent out more than they actually have, and it's legal within reserve lending, which is a standard of global banking as of right now, and after the gold standard shift, they could lend more than they have, and obviously time money value applies to this. So you're basically earning. Imagine you could just give someone money, expect 5% return, and not actually have that money. You can just give them a promissory note. And so if you do this over and over again, the chain of events starts to climb and climb until it unrattles all at once. Because when banks start to realize that other banks are doing the same thing, they start to compete with each other to do this kind of, I would say, fraudulent. And I feel like the people who are, you know, in educated in the financial world, university from the context of universities, are told these are normal standards of efficacy for banking, and I don't think they should be, because the 2008 market crash was the fraudulence was known. People understood that these repercussions were coming within the banking world. The people that were not financially literate took on the burden of the negative side consequences, and the bankers came out with a huge lump sum. And I think it's repeating because the law that just got passed, the Genius Act law, has introduced stablecoins. And the reason that stablecoins are going to be very important for you to look at is because you don't want to be on the downside of what the bankers are doing right now. They're doing the same thing they did in 2008, except they're doing it with way more leverage. The stablecoins, if you go look at the stuff that they just signed off, the law that just came into power, they're able to basically do the same thing, the same negative repercussions I explained in reserve lending, but in crypto, which means they can print way more dollar, which means that if you earn money on an hourly basis, you have less effect.
Mm-hmm.
So we can go ahead, Rav. I'll be right back.
Everything good? All right, yeah, no worries. But yeah, guys. So pretty much going into it, if I want to give us a number just so you guys can understand, so roughly around 20% of the gold ever mined is in reserves. So those are in central banks. So those are not major banks. So the central banks that are owned by the government. And guys, just this year, 863 tons of gold were purchased this year by banks. And so guys, and countries as well. So jewelry, which is roughly around, which is a fraction of the amount of cost, because jewelry is where majority of people get their gold and their silver from. But guys, central banks own majority of the people who bought it, so more than 50%. And one thing we want to know, guys, is here I'll read you directly from the AI component. Okay, so they've purchased over 1,000 tons annually for the last 30 years, and so consumers which hold the largest overall demand, had only 1/4 of total gold consumption. So it is federal banks and central banks, just central banks, and have 1/4 of the total reserves of gold, and so that is a huge amount because that's not considering just banks. So let's say, for example, we're looking at 40% of the country right now, countries' banks and countries are buying gold. That means 60% is consumer. That's a very bad odd to put it in. And one thing I want to mention about reserve banking, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Okay, okay.
I like what you're talking
Yeah, so a lot of people, including Robert Kiyosaki, which I'm pretty sure is where Ahmed has heard the notion of you're
about.
getting
Which
robbed.
sideboard
Yeah, which is a good which is a accurate indicate, like it is very accurate what's happening is you're getting robbed. The thing we have to remember, guys, is this is their game. This is the board. They're the bank. They make the rules, right? Now, Ahmed also mentioned that, this is not an ethical way to do it, which is very fair, right? There are better things. Like a gold standard has very solid. Like somebody should know that if they worked hard for a dollar, the dollar should be still worth a dollar. It should not be going down, right? That doesn't make sense. But if we're following their rules, it doesn't make sense because they're allowed to do it. Fractional reserve, banks are usually the most promising businesses in all countries. It's usually the case here in Canada. The big banks are the biggest companies here in Canada as well. So, but not going over that, it's just, again, you're not getting robbed because it's their game, but you are getting robbed. So Ahmed is not saying any lie when he's saying that you are truly getting robbed, right? But this is where it goes to show you that if you're in their system and you cannot change the system, then you must learn how to adapt with the system. And it's to not buy gold when you see that the only people buying gold, or the vast majority of people buying gold, are central banks. Now, like with Ahmed, silver had a long period of time where gold was going up and silver was not going up drastically, where we mentioned that, hey, silver is looking very good right now and secondary metals is looking solid because there's still utilization with them, and that's where these value come from, right? So even if the worst case scenario happens, which utilization is lost because now we have so much of it and we have vast amounts of it, you still have it for the jewelry, for the luxury aspect, and that's what you have. But guys, putting your money into this because you're not sure of where your currency is getting to just showcase that you don't understand assets very well. And I mean by this is like this: if let's say you bought a house, and you buy a house and you're able to add value to this house and make it worth more, you're able to consistently do stuff. You're able to buy better neighborhoods. You're able to find something that needs fixing up. You can't find a piece of gold that's worse and then turn it into a better piece of gold. It's very impossible to do that. So when you're learning to create value in something, that's a very good skill to have, right? Now that doesn't mean that you're better off investing into real estate than gold. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is that you want to really look at why you're investing into something. So if something is popping off a lot, do not invest into it because you're FOMO. Look for the next opportunity. That was silver. Right now, it is not gold or silver, right? You got to let the money drop. And even if the money stays stable for the next 5 years, you still lost money because, as Ahmed mentioned earlier, because of inflation and how fractional reserve banking works, your power that you're utilizing is still losing money. Now, if it's in gold and silver, it could go up, but it has already had a huge shot up, right? So it might be very safe for the next 5 years. In that case, I'd rather be investing into something like a stock market or real estate portfolio that I can keep adding value to continue to grow it. But guys, it's just one way to do it.
Stocks, the one really highlight that, Rav, I feel like you should mention is that there's a pipeline of consistent returning. There's a return on investment. It's not a static. So when you have a property, you could get rent from it. When you have a stock, you get a dividend from it. You're pulling from it constantly. So you're constantly adapting. Well,
yeah, you're looking for something of value, guys. Yeah. You're looking to find value because that's how you truthfully make money, right? Like the best
recursive. What's it called when it recursively earns you money?
Compounding.
Passive income.
Yeah, passive income. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and so, but like, guys, this is why we always say, like, if you invest into the S&P 500 or an ETF, invest into something that's going to gradually grow, right? You can continue to invest in gold, but you got to store that gold, and the gold is not going to make you any money until you sell that. And selling is, again, I don't understand people who are always trying to sell either. You can make quick returns and up and down, unless like something goes drastically wrong or right. I would say more so on the right end. You want to be buying, but like even I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a quote on my wall that says, "Buy when there's blood in the streets, even if it's your own blood." And it's very true to think like that, right? So right now, if you guys did lose money in gold, like some of my buddies actually did because they didn't hear the advice or they didn't look into it deep enough. They jumped into it because the next person is saying, "Oh, gold's gonna jump even higher. Oh man, I better buy gold now," right? Obviously, be smart. But yeah,
it's okay to make a mistake, right?
Yes,
but you got to learn from it. Mistake, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't think,
One question
guys,
I
that
have
gold
for
is
you,
gonna
man.
go down another 50%. I don't think this at all. So you
Yeah.
can hold on to your gold, but take this as a lesson that hey, when the gold gets to the same price, that you want to be looking on how you can get value assets and not assets that are just going to be appreciating because you don't want value.
Same logic as
Mm,
2008. If you sold your house in
same one.
2008, you were lost. What Rav is saying is hold your house. It's going to come back up. Hold your gold. It's going to come back up. Yeah,
Hmm.
I like that. That's a good
Yeah,
thesis.
we always
One
talk about the
question.
losers of 2008, but we have to remember a lot of winners as well. Okay, so Ahmed, sorry, continue.
Well, I think that something relevant, and I want to give you a question and see whether you agree or not with this thesis. This thesis has been developed by Professor Fitz, and I think Professor Zhang is parallel with her. So I'm not sure if you guys have perfect.
Ahmed knows these people very well. He listens to a lot of them, but yes, continue.
What I would search up if you want to see this reference, if you're really interested and want to dig deep, look at the Tucker Carlson interview with Professor Fitz.
Hmm.
It'll be on YouTube. Professor Fitz is a lady, and she very very intelligent. And I like her perspective, and I want to share it with Rav and see what Rav thinks. And what she said is that we're entering a world of multipolarity, which means that there's going to be a left and right side. It's not going to be the world reserve currency being owned by America. It's going to be two distinct areas in which China rules over one area and then U.S. rules over the other. And within the current, she expresses this through the theoretically, and Professor Zhang also expresses it theoretically. And where I kind of fill in the lines or fill in the gaps within their theses is when I observed Venezuela and the Iran war. So Venezuela's takeover is very important. I'll explain it further, and the Iran situation is very important. I'll explain that further. So starting with Venezuela, Venezuela was actually already experienced a financial collapse. Their currency was basically valueless, and they started to trade and barter not with the reserve U.S. dollar, reserve currency. They were trading with silver and gold. If you go watch videos online, you find that they're trading with silver and gold. And what I see,
Or
the
items,
invasion,
like Ahmed just mentioning that they were trading with stuff not USD
yes,
based.
thank you for
Yeah,
clarifying. I think I'm going a little too fast,
yeah.
but
No. It's just
just for
a lot of people. Nobody's walking around with gold nuggets, all right? Nobody cares just the measuring thing. But Ahmed is
it's
just
very small
making the
stuff.
yeah. Ahmed is just making the notion that they're trading with what they have, not with the USD. There's no Chase checking machine over here.
Like I saw a video of this
Mm,
guy. He goes and buys a stick of butter and milk, for example, with little nuggets of gold, like small amounts of measurable gold. And the merchant's willing to take it. So they're not trading within the world reserve currency.
mhm,
What makes a superpower is its ability to force other countries militarily or through their law, which is enforced by military, of course, um, to use the reserve currency as the means of transaction. Because if you hold the currency is powerful, and therefore the country is more powerful. Um, so what I see is that Venezuela kind of got sick of being ripped off, and they're so their currency is so weak within the hierarchy of currencies in comparison to the U.S. reserve currency that they could no longer trade their services or time for that money, and so they completely hated the idea
they
and
just
started
abandoned
to
it.
trade within. Yeah, and so America came in there under there's a bunch of excuses that America has made to go into certain countries, and I won't go further on that because I think I saw something in Toronto. If you're within Canada and you speak within certain criteria about negatively about something, there are some repercussions. So I'll be careful with what I say. But I'm serious. You can go search this up. Toronto has had a situation, but that's another topic. The U.S. went into Venezuela to ensure that none of the other countries follow suit with this abandonment of the U.S. dollar. They're trying to maintain their side of the border. Now, the reason I think that this thesis is further refined is because when Iran came to do the debates about the war and conflict, they said that they're willing to renegotiate, and one of their renegotiation points was to switch the petroleum that they were selling to only yuan. So they did not want to trade within the world reserve currency, which is the U.S. dollar. They wanted to trade in the Chinese yuan, and we know that China was backing Iran more than it is the other side. What I'm seeing is exactly. I'm not. It's not even my theory. It's like what I'm objectively seeing in the news and what these countries have decided to do is one side is trying to ensure that nothing falls apart in Venezuela, so it maintains its power, and the other is ensuring that uh, their reserve currency gets more powerful in their jurisdiction. And Israel is not on China's side. Israel is a U.S. foothold in the Middle East. I see the kind of like that's where the separation is: China, Iran, Middle East, and then America, Venezuela, Israel.
Mm-hmm. So Ahmed, so the majority of the main point of the situation was you were asking, what do you pretty much, if I could just simplify it into words,
Would you
is the
would you
U.S. dollar going
agree
to
with this?
retain? Yeah, is the USD dollar going to retain in the near future as the world reverts
No,
as
no.
the world currency? Or
What I'm saying is, do you agree with the notion that we're entering a new time horizon where you have two
yeah,
distinct
yeah, different types of
superpowers, not just
currencies.
one?
Instead of just following it with the U.S. dollar, that different currencies will be
Yeah,
used in different parts of the world. I'll tell you this, Ahmed.
yeah.
So so a lot of people ask why, like, so there's some good economic books if you guys read. There's one, it's I can't remember the exact name of it, but I believe it's why a country fails and why a nation fails and why it succeeds. It's
Why
something along that
nations
way.
rise and fall?
Yeah, Almond read it too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I like that.
yeah, it's
That's
a
a really good
fantastic
book.
book.
Yeah.
So in the book, they do explain. So the reason why Venezuela or other countries, where their currency drops tremendously, and then there's even like the same thing was happening right now in Iraq. But the reason why that doesn't happen in the USA is because when you are the world reserve currency, you get the benefit of the doubt. So if the world has to trade with your currency and they're buying your products, correct, or even buying any products in the world, they have to first purchase
Yeah.
your currency and then they have to buy the product. This means that there's always a transaction where you're going to be involved making money, because obviously you're
Yeah.
making money from people having to switch currencies into you, and the benefit of this is, though the entire world relies on one currency, that everybody knows what one value is worth, right? If bread is worth $5, they understand that bread is worth $5. They don't have to do conversion, and where it
Yes.
doesn't make sense. So that's kind of how it works. Now, when Ahmed says, "Is this going to happen where now the different parts of the world is going to do different things?" It hasn't it already, and this is what I'm going to be mentioning.
Yes.
It's done it to
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
degree. Like in Canada, we don't use USD dollar, but we're aware of it. Correct? We use the Canadian dollar. Now, obviously, if you're buying USA products, we have to switch to the US dollar.
I feel it's the energy sector within the energy sector.
Uh huh.
We purchase back our oil
Uh huh.
that we mine and maybe refine,
Yeah.
but within what currency do you
And
think we trade that? I honestly think that we
it's
trade,
USD. It's USD. And
it
so
has to be. And
yeah,
I'm not sure. I don't
no, no,
know everything, but
I am sure of it. It's USD. There's no
it has to be.
you purchased you based on USA barrel. That's why our cent system is very weird. But what I'll say, guys, one thing that you have to understand is this: back in the day when times are really tough. Because you didn't have the internet, it's very hard to know what the conversion of one thing to one thing is, and that's why they simplified it into a world reserve currency where it's easier for the
Yeah.
system to work. In a day like this, they have thousands and thousands of cryptos, thousands of different currencies. Even like people do forex trading and they do currencies in 1 second. The difference now is it's so much easier and they're able to do business with other stuff. Like for example, if you know a dollar is
Stability. Yeah.
worth one
The
USD
internet
is,
has
yeah,
revolutionized.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you know that one USD is one is worth this much grams of gold and it's locked at that price, then you're aware of what this price is compared to anything else, right? So I don't think it's going to be too long until the USA is not no longer the world reserve currency, whether it has the strongest military or not. This is what I'm saying though, is it doesn't matter, because the whole purpose of the USD, of what it used to represent, is no longer that foothold, right? Different parts of the world can trade in any different way, whether it's going to be
I
Bitcoin,
think
whether it's going to be
I
a
think
different type of
it
crypto.
does matter.
No,
It does. It might not
it
matter to
puts,
for people who are people who are financially at like
yeah,
intelligent.
yeah, but
They're going to hold assets, and it's going to
I'm
be
speaking
irrelevant.
about this
But the,
completely in terms of just government, rather than just people, because we can get into that. And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you are very
I
truthful on
agree.
that.
No,
There's
I
no
agree.
nonsense in that. But in the world, will it get to the point where if India wants to do transactions with Canada, it doesn't need that. We can just do a direct conversion, right? And it might be that we have a new back system. Like, do you know how like NATO works, right? We have NATO. Everybody gives us some money, and NATO's main goal, as it stands, is we're pretty much the defender of nations, and we have our NATO, our own military, and
Yeah.
everybody puts in money in this. So will it get to
Yes.
a point where now there's a world bank, or a world bank, or a world reserve currency that's not dictated by a single nation? Because this is the fight for currency will happen where, let's say, China
There
is
is this
going.
thing called SWIFT.
Yeah, yeah,
The closest thing I can think
yeah.
of is SWIFT.
Swift has been around for a very long time though, so they haven't really hit their
Mm.
mark in what they're trying to do though.
They have cut out Russia as
Yeah,
soon
yeah.
as Russia broke.
Yeah. And you see,
So there
there's
there
good
is
and bad
kind
to
of a
that. The good is you're able to punish for stuff that you see as being wrong, right? The bad thing is though,
Yeah.
is a lot of people has had the same issue here with the truckers rallies that happened here. All of us, everybody's like, oh, this is a big nuisance, so let's cut off their bank and everything,
Yes.
which is human, which is it should not be a part of human right now, right? Now again, not going to Russia or the Ukraine situation in
Within the
this.
government's right.
Exactly.
Yes.
But
We believe
now,
in its
yeah,
extension of their rights.
exactly.
Should not be there.
Now, whether or not that's going to happen in the future, I think this is still way many years off. But like, will there be a gold backed currency? The smart answer to that would be yes, and it would be better than the USD currency because you would have a fixed asset price, and that would change the game for a lot of different things. That would allow people not to.
I would disagree, but I don't have any solid argument
Yeah,
here. I will say it's more speculation.
That's Ahmed. That's very truthful because
Are
the
you
thing
open?
is, this is
Question to
more
you
of
right
a one second, Ahmed. This is more of theory rather than
Yeah.
legitimacy because we saw that
Yes.
system fail
But
as well.
yours. No. I would disagree. Your theory is very foundational.
Mhm.
Gold will always be intrinsically
But I
valuable.
don't think it's even going to be worth
I think
gold.
we're moving into the AI world,
Mhm.
and Elon Musk keeps talking about this post AI economics,
Mhm.
where value is just absolutely disrupted by
Yeah,
the
where
utility
everything's
AI.
free. Where everything's free, pretty much. That's what.
Do you think that gold's position as the the universal consensus model for value? I mean, Bitcoin's right now like
Can I say
what,
something,
10
Ahmed?
years?
Something.
It's too young to say, but
Yeah.
gold has been over thousands of
Can I
years
say
the
something, Ahmed?
consensus of value.
Everybody said it was impossible to make diamonds until it's made diamonds. I don't think gold's going to be it. I don't think that's going to work as well.
They have made gold, but it's more
It costs a lot of money.
resource. Yeah, it
Yeah,
costs more
exactly.
than it actually
But
is.
that's what it always is in the beginning, right? So it always costs more than what it makes, and then it gradually
And
converts
then
into
to
something
refine
cheap.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
So
gold will
my
not work
question is,
either. So
because you're answering this very, very. My real question was: do you think that there would be an alternative? Maybe it's AI.
yes,
I don't know
yes.
what it is.
This is what
Do
I
you
was
think there's
getting to,
going to be
Ahmed.
an AI currency?
I do believe it'll be a currency that everybody agrees to on like how we mentioned a different organization like a World Bank where
Mm.
it's 1-to-1 and it cannot be changed from this degree. Now whether they change that, whether they do it or not, that's going to be a whole different speculation, right? But we could say that 1 gram, 1 gold is worth 1 gram of dirt. You can say to anything, right? But as long as we can create that product is worthless, right? So you always have an inflationary effect as long as we can create that product. So Bitcoin solves that.
I wouldn't say dirt. I think water.
No, like
Because
even
a lot
dirt,
of
but
these databases, a lot of these AI processes require a lot of water.
But
I
Ahmed,
think
the universe is
if you were to
vast of water.
engineer,
Yeah. Like the universe is still vast of water, right? We've always there's a lot of people. I know what you were mentioning into where you're talking about. A lot of people
these
say
robots questionable with how much fresh water they consume.
no, but no, they take a lot, right? Even ChatGPT inquiries, they take almost a bottle of water like per inquiry. It's a lot. The thing is, Ahmed, we have abundant source of it, and the thing is, nobody really yet has started to go into the financing or into the ability of how do we make water transfer from salt to fresh water on a more effective scale. But it will happen. Like again, I'm very positive on that mindset, whether somebody agrees or not. But everything is always said to be impossible until it's been done, and so it's just a waiting game, right? But so, what do I have? Do me and Ahmed have the solution on how to solve the World Bank issue? Not at all, buddy. We're just here to give you our advice on it or like our speculation. One last thing before we end off, because we're at 33 minutes right now, guys, is, but I will tell you whether it's going to be a different country, whether it's going to be a world reserve currency, like just by itself called world reserve currency. Nobody knows, but the downfall to where USD will no longer be the main thing will happen eventually, whether Bitcoin takes over or something else. Bitcoin's only benefit, I'll tell you guys truthfully, benefit is that the creator is unknown. Now Ahmed is going to say he knows it. I know exactly what he's about to say, but if you have something
It's all speculation, even if you do know. Yeah,
but if let's just say, for example, we have something that truthfully has no backing because nobody knows how it's built or made. That's the only benefit you have. But even with Bitcoin eventually will be hackable. That we know this is going to be a fact. It's just a countdown until when. And so that, like we mentioned, this might have to be that we have to every single century we have to switch the world reserve currency into something else. It might be a problem that we are unable to solve, right? But again, what I believe, you guys, is one thing I'm going to tell you guys to never lose money, and that is to buy value assets, because it does not matter whether you trade dirt, whether you trade gold, silver, they will be worth something. And this is where Ahmed and me were mentioning, like one of the reasons why we love real estate is real estate, you cannot create it again. You can drain water and then create more real estate, but I think you're going to have more bigger issues if you drain all the water on the earth to create real estate. So you will have a fixed amount of real estate on this planet, right? And eventually, and speaking sci-fi, there'll be other planets, guys. Guess what? Earth is going to be the shit, all right? Earth is still going to be that guy. So Yeah, so that's just what I want to end off the episode with. Just from my side, it just buy assets that appreciate. Do not buy gold, like don't buy gold or metals, but make sure you have a balanced portfolio where you are able to weather any storm. Ahmed comes through the garden to steal your money. I break into your house. Ahmed steals your Bitcoin password. Doesn't matter. You have so many different sources of assets. No one person can come take it all, and that's what you need.
Just to summarize, you want to diversify your portfolio adequately. Real estate's really good, and there's other examples, and all those other examples would fall under criteria of you cannot live without them, and you require them in a constant. They're just constantly in need. Transportation, food, housing,
Yeah,
education.
100%.
If you invest in any of those sectors, or you have investments that are very, very well founded in that kind of logic, you're going to be able to make it through any storm, financial or socioeconomic or war, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel.
Thank you, Professor
Thank you,
Professor
Rob.
Ahmed,
Yeah.
Mr. PhD, MD, 4K TV, everything. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. We'll see you next time.